Papers reserved and recommended by the Legislative Research Commission, General Assembly of North Carolina enacted.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Craven, Representative Speciale, rise? For what purpose does the gentleman from Wake, Representative Dahl, rise?
For a motion.
The gentleman is recognized for a motion.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the House do concur with the Senate Committee substitute for House Bill 7.
Further discussion, further debate? If not, the question before the House is the adoption of the motion to concur with Senate Committee substitute for House Bill 7. Those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will open the vote. McGrady, aye. Following members wish to record: Representatives Pierce, Steinberg, Eiler, Bowles, Sauls, Malone, Zachary Riddell, or Autry. These members wish to record. Not the clerk will lock the machine. Record the vote. 111 having voted in the affirmative, 1 in the negative. House Bill 7, the concurrence motion is adopted. The bill will be sent to the governor. Bill is ordered and enrolled.
Mr. Speaker,
For what purpose, the gentleman from Wake, Representative Malone, rise?
I'd like to be recorded as aye.
Gentleman be recorded as having voted aye. House Bill 142, clerk will read.
Representative Stevens and Jordan, House Bill 142, bill to be entitled an act to reset SL 2016-3, General Assembly of North Carolina enacted.
For what purpose, the lady from Surrey, Representative Stevens, rise?
To speak on the bill, Mr. Speaker.
The lady have a motion.
To move to concur and to speak on the motion.
The lady has moved the House to concur with the Senate Committee substitute with House Bill 142. The lady is recognized to debate the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, we all know the purpose of this bill. I think we've all been discussing it for weeks now. This will reset what we do with our bathroom policy. The preemption to cover multi-occupancy restrooms, showers, and changing facilities everywhere in the state of North Carolina should be governed by the state and not by any separate locality, school entity, or any other position. We can make additional laws and changes to change the bathroom policy, but it should be something that is done and understood by the entire state. From that point, no local government in this state may enact or amend an ordinance regarding employment practices or regulating public accommodations, because we are a deal and rule state. Therefore, we are in charge of the policy. This act is effective and it becomes law, and we have promised to review the local ordinance provisions, and therefore it expires on December 1st, 2020, because it gives us the opportunity to review and look at things. It keeps it hot on our calendar. This is what it does. It is a much simpler bill. It is written in as easy and simple language as it can, and I would ask for your support on the motion to concur.
Mr. Speaker.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Union, Representative Brody, rise?
Inquiry of the chair, please.
Gentleman may state his inquiry.
Mr. Speaker, is it appropriate for a motion to postpone this bill until next week, Tuesday?
The gentleman would be in order if the gentleman made a motion to postpone consideration of the bill to a date certain.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To propose a motion.
The gentleman's recognized for a motion.
I'd like to propose a motion that we remove this bill from calendar today and reschedule it for next week, Tuesday.
The gentleman's made a motion that the bill be rescheduled from today to move. For what purpose? The gentleman from Harnett, Representative Lewis, rise.
To debate the motion.
The gentleman's recognized to debate the motion.
Mr. Speaker, with all due respect, I believe the bill is properly before the House. I believe the members are versed and understand the subject content of the bill. I do not see the merit in delaying the consideration of this bill, and I would ask members to vote no on this motion.
The chair sees several lights. If members would simply keep their lights on who wish to debate the motion, the chair will open the lights back up to debate on the bill. For what purpose, the gentleman from Wake, Representative Jackson, rise.
Speak on the motion.
The gentleman is recognized to debate the motion.
I'd ask the people in my caucus, no matter how you're going to vote today, that we do this vote today and that you vote no on this. There will be no need. We can prevent a lot of damage whether you vote today. If we wait till next week, the vote should not change, but the damage will increase. So I'd ask you to just let us have the vote today, up or down. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Craven, Representative Speciale, rise?
To speak on the motion.
The gentleman has the floor to debate the motion.
I'd like us to postpone it because I just got it this morning. And so I'd like an opportunity to run it past people in my district. Plus, I think it's a good idea so that the people of North Carolina know that we're not doing this today just because the NCAA wants us to.
For what purpose, the gentleman from Cabarrus, Representative Pittman, rise.
Speak on the motion.
The gentleman is recognized to debate the motion.
I support the motion. The only problem I have with it is a certain hot place won't be frozen over by then, but let's at least put it off till Tuesday.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Nash, Representative Collins, rise?
To debate the motion.
The gentleman has the floor to debate the motion.
I stand to support this motion. Let's don't act like we're kids here and don't know what's going on. The only reason this bill has come before us in the manner that it has, in such a way that it doesn't take 2 votes. We stripped a House bill that the Senate had and threw this unrelated stuff in there so that it could come back for a concurrence vote for 2 reasons. Number 1, so that it couldn't be amended, and number 2, so that we could pass it by the NCAA's time frame. So now the NCAA is not only calling what legislation we pass, but the time frame we pass it in North Carolina. That's a horrible precedent to set, and I don't know how anybody who's representing their constituency could do anything but vote yes on this amendment. Thank you.
For what purpose, the gentleman from Pender, Representative Millis, rise.
To ask Representative Blust a question.
Does the gentleman from Guilford yield to the gentleman from Pender?
I yield.
He yields.
Representative Blust, I'm directing this question to you because you've always been a man of the integrity of this chamber regarding the process. Therefore, my first question to you is how long has the members of this chamber, as well as the public, been able to see the contents of this bill, while this issue may have been debated for a long time, the actual language itself, how long has the members of this chamber and the public had to see this legislation?
I can't speak for the members, but most of the language was available Tuesday, not the specific bill, but most of the language and the concept was available Tuesday. I don't know about the Democrat caucus, but I think most of our caucus was apprised Tuesday in several meetings and yesterday. Now, I think the language of the bill actually came last night. It is just a half-page bill. I am confident that most members know the bill intimately, but I would have a question. I'm somewhat sympathetic to the motion, and I would have an inquiry of the chair I'll make when you finish your questions. But I think your point's well taken.
A follow-up, Mr.
The gentleman is recognized for an additional question. He yields.
Representative Blust, in light of the legislation only being available to the public as of late last night, in regard to the integrity of the chamber and the normal process that takes forth, are we not able to have this bill in committee? Therefore, there's ample time for the bill to be seen by the public. And are we not able to go through the normal process where a member like myself, who was elected by the constituents of my district, actually has an opportunity to offer an amendment on the floor of the House on a piece of legislation? Does this not speak to some problems with the integrity of this chamber?
Well, I don't know about the integrity, but your point's well taken. I've didn't try this year, but many General Assemblies I've tried to address the sending over of bills for concurrence, and some major legislation has in the past been enacted that way, and I've always thought there ought to be rules to prohibit that from happening.
Mr. Speaker, to speak briefly on the motion.
The gentleman is recognized to debate the motion.
Mr. Speaker, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to question Representative Blust, as he's often a barometer of process with this chamber. After hearing the answers to his question, it definitely troubles me that we have not had the ample time for the public to see this exact legislation, as well as to go through a committee process where we can alter it and potentially offer amendments on the House floor. Therefore, I definitely support Representative Brody's motion and ask the other members do as well.
For what purpose does the lady from Dare, Representative Boswell, rise?
Debate the bill.
To debate the motion?
Yes.
Ladies recognized to debate the motion.
I, too, ask for your support for this motion, my reasoning being that all of the constituents across North Carolina need to see this bill, and then they can share their thoughts and their questions and concerns with their representatives, which is very important that we do this. Secondly, no matter if we vote today or not, I refuse to bow to the NCAA's dictates and demands. Thank you, sir.
For what purpose, the gentleman from Guilford, Representative Blust, rise.
Inquiry of the chair.
Gentleman may state his inquiry.
Mr. Speaker, I understand this has been a bill negotiated by the governor, yourself, and the President Pro Tem of the Senate. This subject's received widespread coverage for months and months and months. And my question is there some sort of time element in which the governor's, whether we call it his offer, your offer, whatever, is there a time element to this that could make it fall apart if the vote were postponed?
To answer the gentleman's question, I proceeded with this concept based upon some discussions that we had in caucus that will remain in caucus, meetings that I had with Senator Berger, and during those conversations with Senator Berger and the governor, I agreed that we would move the bill, that we would consider the bill today if the Senate passed it. To the gentleman's point of the bill is a half-page bill. The issues that are presented in that bill have been widely debated in the media and among this caucus and among others for many months. The chair is unsure what would be accomplished by delaying the bill at this point. Chair believes most members probably know how they are going to vote, not assuming that, but believes that, and sees no reason why we should not proceed with the bill today. However, the body certainly has a motion before it, and if a majority vote to postpone this bill until Tuesday it will be. But the chair has certainly, in the chair's discussion with the presiding officer of the Senate and with the governor, has advised that the chair intended to move the bill today, just as I advised the Republicans in the Republican caucus, and I believe was communicated to the minority leader of the Democratic caucus. So I hope that has answered the gentleman's question. For what purpose does the gentleman from Craven, Representative Speciale, rise?
Just speak on the motion again.
The gentleman is recognized to debate the motion a second time.
For those freshmen and those who don't understand, up until yesterday, this bill that we're voting on, this bill passed the House as a increased oversight of occupational licensing boards. That's what we voted on when we sent it over to the Senate. The Senate changed it, put this repeal in it, and sent it back to us. So now we get no opportunity to amend it. We get no input, no way to change it. It's either voted up or voted down, even though it's not the same bill that we sent out of here. One of the reasons to delay this, it may not be for the sake of the legislators here, but it should be for the sake of the public, who should have the time to see this and to digest it for what it really is, and to be able to make comments and to be able to communicate with their legislators after they've seen the bill. So that's a good reason to delay this thing, and I ask you to vote yes to the motion.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Union, Representative Brody, rise?
Mr. Speaker, to speak on the motion, please.
The gentleman is recognized to debate the motion a second time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm going to speak not to my colleagues in the Republican side, but to my colleagues in the Democrat Party. And because I've already had this conversation with us. But I ask you the question, what tests your mettle? What do you do in order to end up in a seat in this body? And what you do is you present your ideas and your views to the public, and then the public decides if they want to support you or if they want to support another candidate. This bill being presented so quickly doesn't give you that chance to go to your public. And if we remember back, I don't know, was it last year or the year before, remember when we had the bill that we took a motorcycle bill and we made it a women's issue bill, and the caricature was the motorcycle handles the same as a uterus. I mean, you remember that? And if I remember correctly, the same argument that I'm making here, you used on that bill, which was I didn't get a chance to bring it back to my constituents. I need to bring it back to them, and so they get an idea of what's going on in this body. And of course, if I remember correctly in that, we did pass that, and you weren't very happy about that. So I come back this time with something different. This is us saying, or me saying, that I want that same ability to take this thing back to my Union and Anson County folks and thoroughly vet this. And I have some problems with the bill itself, but you know what? I'll give it a fair shake and take it back there. But this doesn't allow me to do it. Once we take this vote, this is done, and I go back to my constituents and I have to answer the question, what in the world did you do? I didn't know anything about this. Or I'm glad you did it. I guess it depends on how the people feel. But I'm asking my colleagues on the Democrat side, do the same thing now as you wanted us to do before and vote this bill. It doesn't end debate on the bill. It just delays it over the weekend so we can get out here and talk to our constituents. And
for what purpose does the gentleman from Cumberland, Representative Richardson, rise?
Ask the gentleman a question.
Does the gentleman from Union yield to the gentleman from Cumberland?
Yes, sir.
He yields.
You struck a chord with me, and I want to know if you will afford us the same courtesy if we ever ask that again, because I don't think we've ever gotten that courtesy. So would you afford us that same courtesy the next time we ask it?
I'll tell you what, I will do my best to live up to that, because we have fought a lot of those issues that we bring things forward, and a lot of things that we talk about in caucus I'm not at liberty to say, but that is a sticking point for a lot of folks.
The question before the House is the gentleman from Union's motion that the motion to concur for House Bill 142 be removed from today's calendar and recalendared for Tuesday. Those in favor of the motion will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will open the vote. Representative Harrison wish to report on this motion? The clerk will lock the machine and record the vote. 34 having voted in the affirmative, 85 in the negative. The motion fails. We are now back on debate on the bill. For what purpose does the gentleman from Guilford, Representative Brockman, rise?
To speak on the bill.
The gentleman is recognized to debate the bill.
First of all, I would like to say thank you to the leadership of the House, both the Republican leadership and the Democratic leadership, Leader Jackson, Speaker Moore. I do realize how hard HB2 has been on every single last one of us. It has really cost our state a tremendous amount, and I do respect the fact that we have so many of us who want to really get this issue behind us. And it's absolutely something that I absolutely respect, although I cannot bring myself to support this bill. I wanted to share with you kind of some points as to why. I also wanted to kind of add as a preface that I do not want my objection to this bill to be marginalized. I know because I'm one of two only openly LGBT members of this assembly, it will be very easy for the media, for folks on the left and for the right to try to marginalize me and marginalize my words because I am an LGBT member of this body. And I ask genuinely for the press, for anybody who is listening, is watching, to try not to marginalize my words just because I am against this bill and I am an LGBT member of this community. The first point that I would like to make is this bill still legislates restrooms. This is the reason why we've had issues with the NCAA leaving, ACC leaving, PayPal leaving, numerous of companies who have decided to leave North Carolina. The reason why they chose to leave is because this body chose to legislate restrooms. This is still in this repeal bill 3.0, HB2 2.0 that we are voting on today. For me, that is not a repeal of HB2 if we're still going to be telling local city councils and local boards what they can do as far as legislating restrooms. The second point that I would like to make to all of you is LGBT people, we don't want special rights. The only thing that we would like is to be treated as equally as every single one of us who is here. We don't want special rights. We just want to be treated equally and to be left alone, and that's it. Another reason why I cannot support this bill is there were no LGBT people at the table. Not one person in the LGBT community was at the table, was asked to be a part of this discussion. They were completely left out of the discussion. And when you're talking about an issue that affects LGBT people, you would think you would want to hear their opinion. You would think you would want to hear what they have to say about a particular issue, but we've chosen to ignore them. Every single LGBT group is against this. Equality North Carolina, HRC, civil rights groups are against this. The NAACP is against this. ACLU is against this bill. Every single civil rights group is against this bill. And so I ask that this body truly do the right thing and repeal HB 2. I respect every single member here. I respect whatever decision folks come up with, but I truly believe that this is not the right way to repeal HB 2. Thank you.
For what purpose does the lady from New Hanover, Representative Butler, rise?
To debate the bill, Mr. Speaker.
Lady has the floor to debate the bill.
The times in life are rare when you have an opportunity to truly stand for justice. This is one of those days. HB 2 was never about bathrooms. We all know that. It was about preventing cities from protecting their citizens. Even the Republican Speaker of the Texas House of Representatives said, if we have gotten to the point in our civilization and in our society that politicians have to pass bills about bathroom stuff, we are out of control. The legislation, he said, felt unnecessary and manufactured. HB 2 was unnecessary and manufactured. As we gather today to try and fix what never should have been, we find ourselves parsing the language and lamenting the effects, wondering if business or basketball will return, analyzing whether we will be reelected in 2018. Shame on us. Honestly, this is so much bigger than basketball. The people of North Carolina want us to repeal HB 2. That is all. They don't understand the nuances, the statutory language, the moratoriums. They don't understand the rights of cities versus legislatures. They care about fairness, dignity. They look to us to create a safe and a welcoming environment for all. True people of faith know that judgment is not our job. The LGBT community, my community, our families, our children, and the people who love and care for us do not support this bill. And if the stigma and the suffering associated with HB 2 continues, then it is the cross of my community to bear. We would rather suffer HB 2 than to have this body one more time deny us the full and unfettered protection of the law. I've heard it said that the true measure of a man is how he behaves when nobody's looking. Honestly, I thought about that. It's actually how you behave when the whole world is watching that really matters. And so I'd like for you to lift your eyes into this gallery and into the faces of these young people and the children that left. And you tell them with your vote how you feel about their future in this North Carolina. It is time for us as legislators to restore our citizens' faith in this government. We have to do it. No one else can. Thank you.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Mecklenburg, Representative Beasley, rise?
To debate the bill.
The gentleman is recognized to debate the bill.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am very humbled and honored to stand here before you tonight. I think that we all know just how difficult a time we face in this state. We all understand that this has been a tough day for many of us, but I also think that we must keep in mind one thing that my grandmother told me so many years ago, which is that you can't please everybody. In fact, upon those words is really what we operate on every single day. We operate on the fact that we can't please everybody, that our decisions, although they affect 10 million people, will still very much be a decision of one person doing the best job that they can do. Now, for me, I opposed HB 2 from the beginning. I wasn't in this body yet when it was originally passed. But we're not sitting here to just fix problems that were of our own personal making. We're sitting here to fix problems that may have come well before us, and sometimes problems that may last well after us. But one of the things that I committed myself to, both to the people in my district and the people of this state, was that any repeal would meet two critical factors. Number one, that it would say that it would repeal HB 2, but that it would not rebuild HB 2 from whole cloth in subsequent sections. And number two, that it would provide us as a state with the clean break that we needed to move forward and to put this chapter behind us. I am particularly concerned that we are once again going down the route of unintended consequences. That although this bill may be short, that it could have wide-ranging results for the people of this state. Now, last night I took time to talk to other people, to pray, to really think about the decision that we were going to be making today. And I'm not going to stand up here and try and question any of my colleagues' motives. I don't think that's my place. I'm not going to get up here and try and tell you what you are doing in this particular circumstance comes from a bad place or a good place. It's not my place. You have to search your own heart, the same way that I had to search mine. But ultimately, when it comes to this matter of conscience, and when it comes to this, my belief on this position is clear. I cannot, in good conscience, vote for something that I believe takes us backward on civil rights. I cannot, in good conscience, say to the people who are counting on us to make decisions for all of us, to make sure that we are focused not on necessarily being on the best side of the future, but also on being the best side of the present. I cannot say in good faith that this is the right solution, that it provides us with the clean break that we need as a state, that it will move us in the direction that we need to go. Everyone here has to make your own decision. Everyone here has to decide what they believe is in the best interest of North Carolina. I have made my decision. I encourage all of you, before you hit that button, before you push aye or push no, consider what kind of state you think what kind of signal this sends about our state to the rest of the country, but also consider what signal it sends to the next generation of North Carolinians. There are people right now walking this earth, born in this century, who may very well see the 22nd century. We have to think that long term when we stand on this floor. I strongly encourage all of you, search your hearts. Understand where you want us to go as a state. I have made my decision. I am confident in every one of you that you will make your own. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
For what purpose does the lady from Buncombe, Representative Fisher, rise?
To debate the motion, Mr. Speaker.
The lady is recognized to debate the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the North Carolina General Assembly, this compromise continues the discriminatory harms that HB 2 enshrined into law. House Bill 2 was hastily passed and signed into law last March without thought for the economic or human impact that it has had on families across the state, on my family, on the families of other members of this body. How did we get here to be once again considering legislation like this? We got here because once again, those most deeply impacted by this legislation, members of the LGBTQ community, were not part of the conversation. This is an accountability issue, an accountability moment for all of us. When our children ask us which side of history we were on, what are we going to tell them? Now is the time for all of us to show our constituents, our families, ourselves, the leaders that we know ourselves to be. The only answer is to vote no. I don't vote to discriminate against other citizens of North Carolina. We don't compromise on civil rights. Thank you.
What purpose does the lady from Mecklenburg, Representative Cunningham, rise?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The lady is recognized to debate the bill.
Thank you. Today is a new day in North Carolina. Today gives us the opportunity to start fresh and rebuilding our image, rebuilding our economy. Over a year ago, I stood on this floor and I said what we did in this chamber did not relegate to the 100 children in my district. And I believe that this is a step forward. The jobs that are lost in my district, the homeless people that remain in my district, this bill has impacted them all. I came here to represent, at the best of my ability, the citizens of my district and North Carolina. Some choices are not easy, but I have weighed this issue with a heavy heart because I do not believe in any type of discrimination. However, when I reflect on the civil rights movement, it took us over 30 years to get our voting rights. Today, as I cast my vote, know that I am casting that vote for the time we are in today. We must learn the art of acceptance. We are not there. Today is an opportunity for us to continue to dialogue and make every attempt to understand the differences that separate us. Let us start today with a new vision, a vision that depicts there is a tomorrow coming, and that outside of these walls, in this chamber, people in society will continue to demand their rights. Let us be mindful of all people as we make our decision. I ask for your support for the bill. Let's start fresh. Today is that day.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Durham, Representative Michaud, rise?
To debate the matter before the body.
Gentleman is recognized to debate the bill.
It's going to be a little strange what you hear from me on this bill. It's going to be strange because of the position that I have to take, because of something I want to make you understand where you are. It's a position that I take because I don't want us to do what you did.
For example, I'm not going to throw my governor under the bus. I'm going to support my governor so that he will have an opportunity for a second term. You know, you all have the supermajority in this body. You pass anything you want to pass, the way you want to pass it, however you want to pass it, and whenever you want to pass it.
Mr. Speaker, for what purpose does the gentleman from Red Wayne, Representative Warren, rise?
A point of order. It seems like the
gentleman may state his point of order.
It seems like the representatives take an opportunity to dress down the other side of the aisle rather than addressing the bill. I wonder if we could address that.
The gentleman would be encouraged to try to contain the remarks to the merits of the motion.
I am dressing down the other side in conjunction with the motion on the floor. Because the argument I just heard on delaying it was an argument we tried to do and that we were not given the opportunity to do also. So yes, I'm addressing that because what I want you to know is that with the supermajority that you have, that you can do anything you want to do, yet now you come to us to help you alleviate the trouble that you got yourselves into to start with. You need our votes on here. Even with your supermajority, you still got to depend on us to help you get out of the mess that you got the state into. So let me just get a couple other things in here before somebody else wants to try to stop me. You know, I come out of a movement where folks tried to shut me up before. And I won the right to speak. I won the right to vote, not after 30 years, but after 100 years. It took 100 years for me to get the right to vote, to be able to come to this body and to express my feelings the way my constituency feels, the way I think that my constituency feels. Now you want me to lead you from disgrace to amazing grace. Well, I'm going to help you. I'm going to try to give you the opportunity. But you can rest assured that I'm going to rub your noses in it every chance I get. Because you deserve it. I know that if we help you pass this bill today, that on Monday night when we come back, it's business as usual. You're going to send our bills to rules. You're going to keep us over here in this corner where we are.
Mr. Speaker, just a moment. The gentleman from Durham will suspend. For what purpose does the gentleman from Union? Representative
Yes, the gentleman from Durham question, please.
Does the gentleman from Durham yield to the gentleman from Union?
I do.
He yields.
Representative Michaud, you are aware that you do not have to help us pass this bill today, right?
I said before, you have a supermajority over there, and you can pass this bill if you want to. But I also understand that you do need our help in getting this bill passed. Yes, I understand you can do it if you want to, but more than half of you don't want to do it. So if you don't get our help over here, you won't get it passed. But anyway, let me just be sure that you understand what I'm talking about. The brand that has been put on this state is one that I don't cherish at all. I was always proud of this state, the fact that we could do things and overcome without having to go to the ends that other states have made in the past to correct problems out here. Our governor came in and said he's going to try to get HB2 repealed. He has worked hard to do it. Your leadership has worked hard to do it. And I know that this is not the best bill in the world with which to do it because you still leave discrimination in there. And I will fight you, as I said before, tooth and nail to rid this state of any discrimination you might feel. But in this particular instance, the only way that we're going to do it is by you understanding the fact that there are ideals and thoughts that come from everybody. You know, you can make laws in here, but you can't make a law that makes me love you, and you can't make a law that even makes me like you. But you can make a law that makes you respect me. And that's what I want to do. I want this body to understand that people are not looking for a handout, they're looking for respect. And the only way that I know to do this is that you're not going to do it today because you got a mindset to do it. But if I keep bugging you about it, and if other folks keep bugging you about it, maybe when you come back here on Monday, some minds will be changed about how to go about treating folks and doing things in the right way. As I told you before, I came out of the civil rights movement. I came out where we didn't have to compromise. Things were so bad, things were so that even folks could not understand how we could do things like this in a country like ours. And we're going back to doing the same thing. But this bill gives you an opportunity to atone for whatever ills, for whatever thoughts, whatever ideas you may have. Here again, we're going to help you move from disgrace to amazing grace and pray that amazing grace will rub off on you and your ideas and thoughts on human beings will change.
What purpose does the gentleman from Rowan, Representative Ford, rise?
For a motion.
Gentleman may state his motion.
Motion to adjourn.
The gentleman's motion is not recognized. For what purpose does the gentleman from Columbus, Representative Brendan Jones, rise?
To debate the bill.
The gentleman is recognized to debate the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As members of my caucus knows, I have been pretty strongly against this from the get-go. But I got here with my faith, and my faith, and my faith. And I'm going to tell you something. My eyes have been opened. I've got 3 reasons today that this body should pass this. And I would like to first thank Representative Butler for opening my eyes to the children in this gallery. It is my duty as a legislator, as a father, to protect them. You're exactly right. And that's what this does. I ask today that you vote for this to keep the protection in North Carolina. It's been proven in this chamber today that this is trying not to happen. We're trying to be the Wild West, and we can't be that. Representative Harrison, you're correct. What side of the history do I want to be on? The right side. The right side that North Carolina stands for. Members of both parties, I ask you today to vote this. Vote yes. And maybe Representative Michelle will see that maybe his nose gets rubbed in us doing the right thing. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Robinson, Representative Graham, rise?
To speak on the motion.
The gentleman is recognized to debate the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And members, I rise to say to you in this body, this thing called HB2, I wish it never happened. And I'm going to cast a vote today, but I want to make it very clear. My vote today does not say in any way, form, or fashion that I, as an indigenous person, a proud Native American, who has been discriminated against many times, my culture many times throughout history. My vote today will be cast for several reasons. My vote will not be a demonstration that I am someone who is a person who discriminates, of all people. My vote will not reflect that. Because I can stand here and say you're looking at the face of a person and their culture who's been discriminated for hundreds of years. And with that being said, Mr. Speaker, I'd like to pose a question to the Representative Stevens.
Does the lady from Surrey yield to a question from the gentleman from Robinson?
I yield.
She yields.
Representative Stevens, I've got a good idea of what this vote will be today. My question to you is, when we leave here today, what protections will these, and I have children, I have a young daughter, I have a wife, I have grandchildren. My question to you today is, when I leave here, or we leave here, what protections will my daughter have, and my wife have, and the women here in this gallery, in this body have? What protections will they have when they enter into a multi-stall restroom?
Thank you.
The lady has the floor to respond.
Thank you for the question. They will have the exact same protections they've had all of their life, with no confusion about it, before Charlotte actually did an ordinance. There are at least 3 criminal statutes that apply directly to what goes on in multiple changing rooms, locker rooms, and changing facilities. And those include second-degree trespass, when you are in a restroom that does not correspond with your correct genitalia. You have indecent exposure. If a young man is changing clothes and has male genitalia in a female dressing room, there is a criminal penalty for that. Secretly peeping, that's another offense that can be charged if someone is in the improper dressing room or locker room. One of the biggest problems we had initially with the Charlotte ordinance is there's no way to define. It's simply about who you feel you are today, and that's in essence how it was worded. And they've had those problems in both Chicago and Seattle.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Rockingham, Representative Jones, rise?
To debate the bill.
The gentleman has the floor to debate the bill.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen of the House. I want to start by just conveying the fact that I have the greatest and deepest respect for every single member of this body. And that's not because of legislation. Frankly, your right and my rights, whatever rights that we have to any respect, come from God. Rights come from God, not from the government. And I respect you as an individual because God created you and He loves you. And I don't need a law to tell me that I should respect you. Now, as I have listened to this debate, I am reminded of the old axiom that when you think you're trying to please everybody, you generally wind up pleasing very few. And I've been listening to the debate very closely, and even some of the humiliation, if you will, directed towards the majority, and that was good. I appreciated that too, because I think it's only a small taste of what we're going to hear. But I want to explain, at least for the benefit of my constituents who I was sent here to represent, why I am not going to vote for this bill today. I appreciate the debate, and I appreciate the fact that there has been great debate on this issue for quite some time. And I know that both from the left and the right, there are very strong feelings about this issue. And going back to the HB2 issue itself, and I realize that there are members of this body that feel very strongly that it represents discrimination. Discrimination that is wrong. And there are other members of this body, like myself, that believe that it does not. We live in a situation today, in today's culture, in postmodern society, if you will, where there is a debate over absolute truth, reality, if it even exists, how it exists. What governs my standard is that the same God that I referred to earlier that created you and created me, created us male and female, and he said that it was very good. And I don't believe that it is a discrimination against anyone that I believe that. It troubles me that we are doing this today in this manner, as has already been said. I think every one of us knows why we are here today and doing this in this manner, regardless of what you think of the bill and the merits of it and whether it should pass or not. Serving in this body has been one of the greatest privileges of my life. Getting to know you all, having an opportunity to meet a lot of wonderful people across this great state, being entrusted with a vote here in this General Assembly. And the integrity of this institution means a great deal to me. Regardless how you feel about this bill, whether you will vote green and whether you will vote red, and you will still be my friend, and I hope that I will still be yours. But the thing that troubles me the most, and probably my biggest disappointment in serving as a legislator, is when I see the lack of respect for this institution. And I believe the way that this is being done today, and I thought about it as I approached the building today and thought about those flags that are out front of the building. And I thought perhaps it would be appropriate if we would commemorate the passage of this bill by inviting the governor to come down to the building today and lowering those two flags and putting up in their place a flag of a certain intercollegiate athletic association and a white flag. Because I believe that what we are doing today and the manner that we are doing it stains the reputation of this body and the dignity of this institution. I believe that we could have come up with a better bill. I have never said that HB2 is the inspired word of God, the 11th commandment, something that could not have been changed. I personally believe that this is a weak bill, and I hear that from members on both sides of the aisle across the ideological spectrum. But I am deeply disturbed at what the citizens of North Carolina will see as a detriment to an institution that more and more of them are growing to despise. And I'm not talking about the North Carolina General Assembly per se, but government in general. And for the dignity of this body, and because of my own personal conscience, I will be voting no on the bill. And God bless every one of you, regardless how you vote.
What purpose does the gentleman from Nash, Representative Collins, rise?
To debate the bill.
The gentleman has the floor to debate the bill.
And let me say, I'll apologize straight up front. You know me, I usually talk very fast and can say what I've got to say in about 2 minutes. But I don't know how long this is going to take, frankly, and I have not interrupted anybody else, so I don't plan on taking questions, Mr. Speaker, during this time, because I don't know how long it's going to take. I'd like to start out with some things about the bill itself. In the first section, it talks about we're preempting from regulation of access to multiple occupancy restrooms, showers, or change facilities, except in accordance with an act of the General Assembly. Now, I realize that the latest act of the General Assembly, should we pass this bill, will be to have repealed HB 2, the only bill that I know of that defines what the General Assembly thinks about multi-occupancy bathrooms. Now, we've been warned by the lawyers in this body ever since I've been here, which is now 3+ terms, that courts look for legislative intent when a bill is passed. Now, as they go forward, I don't know how they can read any intent into what we're doing here when we no longer have any state law that basically defines how multiple occupancy bathrooms are going to be handled or who can go in and out of them, except to figure that, hey, they must be leaving this up to us to decide, because they basically took their authority away when they took away the only law that defined how multiple occupancy bathrooms are treated by the state. In Section 3, we put a temporary moratorium on a practice that currently doesn't exist because of HB 2. Now, a moratorium definitely implies a legitimate practice that is going to be reinstated at some point in time. We're reinstating something in 2020 that now doesn't exist. Again, I don't know how the courts can read that other than the fact that we intend to eventually empower municipalities to do exactly what this moratorium prevents for a brief period of time, which is they are going to regulate private employment practices and public accommodations. I don't know how, as a court, you could read that any other way, except, again, we're going to delegate authority to them to figure that out. You know, HB 2, I agree, was not just about bathrooms. It was primarily about reining in rogue cities who try to set policy that's reserved for the state. You know, I may have an idea that I think is a really, really good idea, but it's pretty difficult to convince a majority of 120 people in this House and then a majority of 50 people over in the Senate and then the governor to sign, or else I've got to convince even more people in the House and the Senate that something's a good idea. It's a lot easier to go to a 7 or 9 member city council and try to put the squeeze on 4 or 5 of them and get them to capitulate to what I want them to do. And that's exactly what the HRC and others have decided their strategy is going to be when they found out they couldn't get what they wanted from the North Carolina General Assembly. Apparently after 2020, we're going to put them in the business of doing that. We know that there was no real bathroom problem before Charlotte created one. We understand that. And as far as respecting people, Charlotte doesn't respect transgenders. They've used them as pawns in this game that they played to try to get what they wanted. Now, I'd like to, as far as one of our members spoke of ridding the state of discrimination, and I agree. I wish we could do that. I wish we could rid the state of discrimination of all types. But let me read you what one constitutional lawyer who knows a lot more about the Constitution than I do had to say about this whole thing. He said the entire justification for the Charlotte bathroom bill was supposedly to provide safety to transgenders whom advocates claim are at risk using the bathroom of their biology, risk of harassment, bullying, and that's probably an actual risk. So, giving transgenders bathroom choice would preemptively protect transgenders from the risk of possible harm. Good so far. However, bad actors taking advantage of bathroom choice offered put other people using the bathroom of their biology at risk. And I'm not talking about transgenders. We have more convicted sex criminals in North Carolina than we do transgenders. Pro-bathroom choice advocates respond to the increased risk from bad actors by claiming that existing law will address any harm that occurs from bad actors taking advantage of bathroom choice. But the truth is, the same existing laws will also protect transgenders from any harm that occurs in the bathroom of their biology. So the bathroom choice advocates want a law that preemptively protects one group while addressing another group after the fact.
The gentleman from Nash, please stand. For what purpose does the gentleman from Orange, Representative Meyer, rise?
Ask the gentleman from Nash a question.
Does the gentleman from Nash yield to the gentleman from Orange?
As I stated before, I do not yield.
The gentleman does not yield. The gentleman from Nash continues to have the floor to debate the motion.
So you've got people asking for something that preemptively protects one group while protecting another group after the fact. A law that indeed provides preemptive protection to some and tells others the law will protect them after harm occurs is neither fair nor equal and does not provide people equal protection under the law as required by the 14th Amendment of the Constitution. So what we've been asked to do by Charlotte is unconstitutional to start with. One thing that really saddens me about this whole mess is the dirty politics that's come up during this issue. I mean, the dirty politics has come up to me as deplorable. And I agree with one of the previous speakers. It's one of the things that makes people hate politics and politicians so much. We've had members of our caucus threatened in various ways, sometimes by a senator, sometimes by another member of their own caucus going into their district and working behind their back to put pressure on members to support this bill. This reminds me more than anything else of the way the lottery bill was passed years ago. And I think any bill that has to be passed by dirty tactics is a dirty bill that I don't want my hands on at all. After 4 months of arm twisting, the leadership in both houses is finally, apparently, we'll find out in a few minutes, convinced enough people to vote for this bill that it's going to pass. And this is about door number 4 or 5. Oh, if you don't like behind door number 1, next week we'll come up with door number 2. And if you don't like that, we'll come up with door number 3. And I don't know if this is door number 5 or 6 or 7. I've lost count. I've seen nothing like this, nothing remotely like this in my 6+ years in this house. And I'm saddened beyond what I can express. This is the saddest day of my service in the House of North Carolina. As far as representing my constituents, I get more emails, texts, phone calls, and personal appeals from people, please not to cave on HB2, than I do about all other issues combined. So in order to represent my constituents and to do what my conscience tells me to do, I have to vote no on this bill. I'm not going to ask you to vote no on this bill. I'm simply going to ask each one of you here to vote your conscience on this bill. Whatever your conscience tells you to do on this bill, please vote your conscience. I realize this may have political repercussions for me. That's fine. I have no political ambitions anyway. I have found the hard way that my trust in people has to be inversely proportional to the size of their political ambition or the height of the office they want to attain. I found that out the hard way since I've been in this house. So whatever happens to me is fine. It's not important what happens to me. It's important what happens to the people of this state. So I'm just asking each one of you to vote your conscience on this bill.
For what purpose does the lady from Guilford, Representative Harrison, arise?
To ask Representative Stevens a question.
Would the lady from Surrey yield to the lady from Guilford?
I will.
She yields.
Thanks, Representative Stevens. I understand this bill takes us back to where we were before House Bill 2 was passed. Correct. Does this mean transgender men and women will be able to use gender-appropriate bathrooms, meaning the gender which they identify?
They will be able to do what they did before House Bill 2 was in place. I realize many went to the restrooms. There were not a problem or issue. They are not allowed to change in the presence of other people if their genitalia are not identical.
Thank you.
For what purpose does the lady from Wake, Representative Hawley, arise?
I'd like to speak on the bill.
The lady has the floor to debate the bill.
I wasn't going to speak because I'm probably one of those people in here that's torn apart by this bill. I have a nightmare that I had last night, and I had it once before here, and it upsets me because I'm torn in my soul behind this. My nightmare was when I first came to the legislature, I studied about our history. And of course, the civil rights. I looked at African Americans in the General Assembly. And I looked at who was here. After the Civil War, this was a mixed group. There were African Americans in here, and they had won their freedom with the Civil War. Also, within 2 sessions, if there was one left, it was amazing. They stood in this room, they sat in the chamber, and they watched their personal privileges stripped that they had fought a war for. And we ended up with another form of slavery, Jim Crow. Now, I am torn apart because I want to support my governor, and I want to support the efforts that we are trying to make things at least a little bit better. But you've asked me to make a gut-wrenching moral decision that I am still don't know what button I'm going to push when it comes to this. But I want us all to be aware that there is more to this than about using the bathroom. And there's more to this than we can even say. But we need to look at ourselves as a people. And when we come back here on Monday, I hope it's a new day, no matter how we vote today. That's all I have to say. I still don't know how I'm going to vote. But I will tell you that it will be a vote. I will vote. I thought about walking out, but I will make a statement for my constituents to the best of my ability of what I think they would want me to do. And that's what I'm going to do today. Thank you.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Mecklenburg, Representative Stone, rise?
To debate the motion.
The gentleman has the floor to debate the bill.
Well, as all of you know, I'm from Charlotte, and that's not always easy when you're in this chamber, when you represent Charlotte, because Charlotte and the elected leaders there do not always have a great relationship with this body. They've not always worked well with this body. Part of Mecklenburg County, the part of Charlotte that I represent, is one of the fastest growing areas. It's the home to more Fortune 500, Fortune 1000 publicly traded companies than any other district in the state. And I want more of them coming here. I want to see our economy grow even more so that it helps the entire state. And I do know that we are impeding the growth in our revenues, in our abilities to do more things for tourism, for teacher pay, for all of these different things, while we have this stigma hanging over us, because there are some companies that are just not coming because of the stigma of what is HB2. This started, honestly, with the Charlotte City Council. My city council, it makes me angry that they started all this. It was unnecessary, particularly our Charlotte mayor, who was doing the bidding of, frankly, special interest groups against the will of the people of Charlotte. They went way too far, very unnecessary, and then this chamber, this body reacted. This bill that is before us today is not liked by those special interest groups on the left and some on the right. The fact that both sides are opposing it probably shows that it's a pretty reasonable compromise, because we are not going to reset this. We are not going to get past this. We are not going to ever repeal HB2 unless it is a compromise in the middle somewhere. I think there's very few people in this room that love this bill. And as I said, there is strong opposition on both sides. So given that, that is probably a very good reason why it is a true compromise, and one that we will probably not have this opportunity again if we let it slip by today. The time has come for us to get out from under the national spotlight for negative things. HB2, whether it's true or not, has taken on a life of its own of what it means. It's become urban legend in some cases what it actually means, but you can't go anywhere on this planet without someone knowing what HB2 is and having some perception about it. We need to get that national spotlight off us for that, and back on to North Carolina for what we are so good at. What all the great things that we have to offer. The fantastic tourism destinations, from the mountains to the beaches, our great cities, our great workforce, the great people that we have here. There are so many things that North Carolina has to offer. I think we are at the very cusp of something that could be setting us apart from the rest of the country for our economy and for our future, unlike anything we've ever seen before. But we can't do it as long as this is continuing to hang over our heads. So because of that, I think it's time to move on. I don't think we're going to get this chance like this again. And sadly, if we don't pass this today, I believe that we'll continue to debate this and be back here again a week or two or a month or whatever from now with just lost opportunities. So I'm going to vote yes, and I encourage all of you to do so, because the time has come to move on past this and move on to all the things that people sent us here to do and to move North Carolina forward for the long term.
What purpose does the gentleman from Craven, Representative Speciality, rise?
To debate the bill?
The gentleman has the floor to debate the bill.
I would disagree with our colleague. A good compromise bill is not when both sides are against it. A good compromise bill is when both sides support it. And it's not really what we have. This whole issue's been political from the beginning, and I guess it's going to end that way if this bill passes today. It'll end that way. For me, I'm not even looking, without even looking at the content of the bill. Why is that bill on the floor today? That bill's on the floor today because the NCAA says it'll be on the floor today. When I walk in this chamber, and y'all I think have heard me say this before, I look up at that board right there, it has all those names, and I look over and I see my name. And I don't do that so I can see how important I think I might be. I do that to remind me that each one of those names represents 80,000 people in a district. It represents 10 million people in this state. And that the decisions that we make are the decisions that the people of our districts and the people of this state have to live with. So if we make the wrong decisions, or we make them for the wrong reasons, the people in this state have to live with it. If we make a decision on a cobbled together bill that everybody hadn't seen, that's been worked on for a day or two, the people of this state are going to have to live with it. When I look up at that board and I see my name, I try to remind myself of how many people depend on me not making a mistake. But now, if this bill passes, I'm going to look up at that board and I'm going to see how the NCAA depended upon this body. I'm going to see how we sold ourselves, and that the people sitting up there in the galleries are no longer the people that we represent, are no longer the people that we work for. The people on the basketball courts are who we work for. I have to ask every one of you to please think about what you're doing. We're tired of this issue, a lot of us. We've been on that side of the aisle, on this side of the aisle. But if it's still an issue, it's an issue that needs to be done properly. And if we're still debating it now, we still need to debate it until we have a bill that everybody can be happy with, that most of the people can be happy with. And that's not what we have here. The right thing to do is always the right thing to do. I don't care which party you're in. I don't care which party you don't belong to. I don't care what your ideology is or your background or anything else. The right thing to do is always the right thing to do. And to be put in a position today because the NCAA says we need to pass this by today, and we're pushing a rush bill that none of us has had a lot of time to determine what the ramifications are. We've passed bills before without thinking beyond stage one. We think that this is what we want it to do, and then we find out later this is what it really does. That is never the way to do business. It's never the way that I wanted to do business. It's never the way that I hope I ever do business. Look up at your name, ladies and gentlemen. Look up at the board there. Look up at all those names and think of how many people we represent. Think of how many people out there have seen this bill. How many people have had a chance to weigh in on it? And yes, depending on who's in charge, we go through this back and forth on whether you see the bill, whether we let the other side see it. All the games are played, and they'll always be played because that's the way it's done. Sadly, that's the way it's done. But the bottom line is, like I said, right is always right, and wrong is always wrong. And I think that sitting here today and voting anything other than no on this bill would be the wrong thing to do for North Carolina and the wrong thing to do for this body, because over the last couple hundred years, We all know that there were things done politically behind the scenes. We all know the games that were played. But you know what? For the last 200 years, I'll give most of the people credit here that were in this body. At least on the surface, they made it appear that what they were doing was for the good of the people of North Carolina. But in this case, we can't even pretend, because what we're doing is for the NCAA. Please vote no.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Orange, Representative Meyer, rise?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to speak on the bill briefly.
Gentleman is recognized to debate the bill.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think one of the few silver linings of House Bill 2 in the last year is that our state and our entire country have become a lot more aware of what does it mean to be a transgender man or transgender woman. And so I have simply one request to you today that's reflective of the debate. We've had lots of people who have expressed different opinions. Everyone has said that they want to be respectful and they want to treat the people of our state with respect. So my simple request is this. We should strive to call people who label them as they like to be called, and transgender men and women do not want to be called transgenders. So if we could please keep our language to calling them transgender men and women, that would help us keep a higher level of debate in this chamber and be more respectful to the citizens of our state. Thank you.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Gaston, Representative Baumgartner, rise?
To debate the bill.
Gentleman is recognized to debate the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to oppose this. I oppose it on a multitude of grounds. And just like many of you, I am really tired of this issue. I'd love for it to go away. I wish it could have been avoided. It could have been avoided, but it wasn't. It was forced on us by the city of Charlotte, telling us, we're going to do this, and what are you going to do about it? Well, we had to do something about it. We did. We acted, and I haven't shied away from it. I haven't run from it. I haven't apologized for it. I've had the same emails that all of you have, ordering me to repeal House Bill 2 and demanding that I repeal House Bill 2 and calling me names, and, you know, that's fine. That just makes your skin thicker, gets you toughened up for other battles to come. But this process we've had the last few days, frankly, is troubling to me. I don't like it. I don't think it's been handled the way it could have. And this is about the 6th time we've had a strong debate on this issue. And don't be fooled. If you think this is going to end it, you think it's going to go away, it's not going away. This is not the end. This is a new beginning if this passes. And it's a new beginning if it doesn't pass. I hope this bill won't pass today and we won't do this. We'll no doubt have debates in the future about it. And I want to state unequivocally, I don't have any confusion over this. I don't have any confusion about what this is, why it is, and how it is. And so I would ask you to oppose this and vote no.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Cabarrus, Representative Pittman, rise?
Speak on the bill.
The gentleman is recognized to debate the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just want to share some information that y'all know my wife Tammy's my legislative assistant. Some information she's compiled for me concerning messages we've been getting on this. All those saying that we have received saying repeal House Bill 2 includes 17 emails and 2 phone calls so far. What we've gotten saying don't repeal is 601 emails and 12 phone calls so far, and she's being told presently that it takes people about an hour to get through on the phone because there's so many calls coming in. But, you know, I guess it's different in different districts, but, you know, this isn't all from my district. This is from my district and from outside my district. And I think the people, as far as I can tell, making it pretty clear, they don't want us to repeal House Bill 2. I ain't going to do it. Thank you.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Wake, Representative Jackson, rise?
I speak on the motion.
The gentleman is recognized to debate the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. There's an old joke that Joe Biden likes to tell on the campaign trail that says, don't compare me to Jesus Almighty. Compare me to my opponent. So that's what I'm going to ask you to do here today. Don't talk about this bill and how bad it is. Talk about these two bills. Do you want to keep House Bill 2, or do you want to vote for House Bill 142? Last night when I went home, I made a few very painful phone calls. And I told myself when I left here that I was going to vote for this bill because I was in leadership. And that's what the governor asked me to do. And I guess that was a way of making myself feel good about today's vote. But then I printed House Bill 2 this morning, and I read it. And we're taking away, in the statutes, we're taking away a prohibition that prevents cities from enacting local acts regulating labor, trade, mining, manufacturing in Section 24. We're taking away definitions that define sex instead of just being sex as saying biological sex. Definitions that say the physical condition of being male or female, which is stated on a person's birth certificate. We're taking that away. Again, it's stated again, biological sex, and another provision of the bill. We're taking that away. We're taking away the public agencies shall require every multi-occupancy bathroom or changing facility to be designated for and only used by persons based on their biological sex. We're taking that away. In no event shall the accommodation result in the public agency allowing a person to use a multi-occupancy bathroom or changing facility designed under subsection 2 of this Act for sex other than the person's biological sex. We're taking that out of the law. There's a provision in here that says authority, regulations or controls on the contractor's employment practices or mandate or prohibit the provision of goods, services, or accommodations to any member of the public bidding on a contract or qualified base selection. We're taking that out of the law. When we talk about legislative declarations about we protect people based on race, religion, color, national origin, age, it used to say sex. Under House Bill 2, it says biological sex. We're returning that to the way it should be, saying sex or handicapped by employers. There's a prohibition in here that says this article does not create or shall not be construed to create or support a statutory common law private right of action, and no person may bring civil action based upon the public policy expressed in herein. We're taking that away. Under equal access to public accommodations, we changed it and put in the word biological to say biological sex. We're taking that away. It says the general statutes supersede and preempt any ordinance, regulation, resolution, or policy adopted or imposed by a unit of local government or other political subdivision of the state that regulates or imposes any requirement pertaining to the regulation of discriminatory practices in places of public accommodation. We are getting rid of that prohibition. Is this the bill I would have written if I took that seat? Of course not. That's not my seat. This is my seat. I lead a minority party. What's going to happen when we repeal House Bill 2? There'll be no more statewide law telling people what bathroom to use. Transgender women will be able to go into a women's bathroom and will have no further issues. There'll be no more restriction on a person's right to recover in state court when they are fired for their race, ethnicity, national origin, gender, and religion. No more restriction on that. No more restrictions on localities enacting local minimum wage ordinances and other economic issues. No more restrictions on localities enacting family leave policies, child welfare protections, or other types of policies. No more statewide law banning local ordinances that existed prior to House Bill 2. No more restriction on localities' ability to contract on terms that include protections for all communities. And this will begin the process of rebuilding North Carolina's reputation. It'll bring back the NCAA, the ACC, the NBA, and other sporting events. And people will have jobs because of what action we're taking today. Make no mistake about it. There will be more people working in this state with better jobs next month because of the action we take. Now, that may not be a big deal to you, and I understand that. Nobody probably in this body really cares if Bruce Springsteen does a concert in North Carolina and brings back that money. But I can tell you the people who work that second job at the concert and at the arena, who work in parking, and who sell hot dogs and hamburgers and drinks and take tickets, they don't work that second job because they enjoy the concerts necessarily. They work it because it's a needed source of income, and this will have an immediate effect on them. I believe that we are a Dillon's Law state, and that cities can't take action without specific enabling legislation. If anything, the repeal of House Bill 2 and the moratorium reference in this new bill, it may lead to ultimately sustaining the viability of local anti-discrimination ordinances. House Bill 2 is a permanent moratorium. 2020 is shorter than forever. In no respect is House Bill 142 not better than House Bill 2. If you are a city, this bill is better. If you are a transgender individual, this bill is better than House Bill 2. In no way is this bill a step backwards from House Bill 2. It may not be the step forward that you wanted to take, but it is a step forward. I don't see how you can possibly deny that this bill is a step forward from this terrible piece of legislation that was passed in March of 2016. I'd ask for you to vote yes on the motion to concur.
For what purposes, the gentleman from Union, Representative Arp, rise.
Speak on the bill, if I may.
Gentleman is recognized to debate the bill.
Ladies and gentlemen, when we passed HB 2, we simply said that biological males don't belong in female showers, locker rooms, or bathrooms. Middle school boys don't belong in middle school girls' showers. That's the truth. You have a right to privacy. That cannot be abridged. We're abridging that today. We have the ability to stand and not sell North Carolina to a basketball team, to the highest bidder. I can't be responsible for what may or may not do, but I stand on the truth of a right to privacy. We all agree that prisoners in a prison, women prisoners, shouldn't be forced to disrobe and shower and use the restroom in front of male guards. We all agree that, right? Why? Because of their right to privacy. Even if they're incarcerated, they should not give up that right to privacy. We should not force our citizens to make that choice either. You just heard Representative Jackson say transgenders can go into the restrooms. We repeal this. It's going to be to do that. So let's just assume we want transgendered male or female folks to choose the restroom that they identify with. Let's just assume that. What is the constitutionally objective standard of who that is? How do we enforce any privacy laws based upon that? I'm not being coy. I'm being truthful. Let's assume that we want that person who identifies as a male or female to go into the bathroom of their choice. Who is that person? What is the constitutionally objective law that allows that? I vote against this bill because I think it jeopardizes the public privacy in bathrooms and showers and locker rooms of our fellow citizens. And I cannot support that. I think men and women in North Carolina are hungry for people to stand up on conviction and not yield to a sports team. I ask you to vote against the bill.
What purpose? Gentleman from Nash, Representative Collins, rise.
See if Representative Jackson would yield for a question.
Gentleman from Wade, yield to the gentleman from Nash.
It's friendly.
Not today, Mr.
Gentleman does not yield.
Can I speak briefly then a second time?
Gentleman is recognized to debate the motion a second time.
One of the things I was going to say, Representative Jackson, I agree with about 80% of what you said. Of course, we don't agree with the net result or how to deal with it, but I agree with about 80% of what you said. And I hope all of us were listening. If this bill passes, there is no more prohibition against cities making their own laws on housing, public accommodations, minimum wage, things like that. Only a temporary moratorium. There are a lot of things that we're doing away with. I hope you listened to the list. I hope my colleagues on this side of the aisle listen to the list of things that Representative Jackson mentioned that we are repealing with this bill. And again, I invite everybody in here on both sides of the aisle to vote your conscience on this bill. Thank you.
For what purpose? Gentleman from Rowan, Representative Ford, rise.
To debate the motion.
Gentleman is recognized to debate the motion.
This is a motion to concur, which implies that we sent a bill over there and it's coming back. Oh, it is. It's been gutted like a catfish. It's not the bill that went over there. This is a motion to concur, and this is a motion to concur on a bill that's all about money. If we could have props in here, I'd take a basketball covered in money and roll it down the middle aisle there, because that's what this is about, money and basketball. My family's not for sale. My constituents are not for sale. And this process that we're going through today, about a year ago, we all stood in here and griped about the process of a local bill that came over here from the Senate. And a lot of people said, boy, this is a good bill, but we hate the process. This is the same process. Do you like it now? Vote your conscience.
Further discussion, further debate. If not, the question before the House is the adoption of the motion to concur with the Senate committee substitute to House Bill 142. Those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will open the vote. The clerk will lock the machine and record the vote. 70 having voted in the affirmative, 48 in the negative. Senate committee substitute to House Bill 142 is adopted. The bill is ordered enrolled and sent to the governor by special messenger. House Bill 245, the clerk will read.
Representatives Conrad, Terry, Lambert, and Haynes. House Bill 245, a bill to be entitled An Act to Amend the Charter of the City of Winston-Salem to establish a uniform process for the election of independent and nonpartisan candidates for municipal elections. General Assembly of North Carolina enacts.
Members, the chair is informed by the clerk that actually House Bill 245 and House Bill 378 could be grouped for one vote, and these are voice vote bills. Is there objection to those bills being grouped? Hearing none, so ordered. The clerk will also read House Bill 378.
Representative Hunter, House Bill 378, a bill to be entitled An Act to authorize the Berkeley and Gates counties to use attachments for garnishment and liens on ambulance service. General Assembly of North Carolina enacts.
Further discussion, further debate on either bill? If not,